Hey everyone, welcome back to Play the Game HQ. I'm Allison, this is Daniel, and we're going to take a look at Foxpaw. It's a game on Gamefound right now.
Yes. Now, we are currently 2 weeks into the campaign, and because we are shooting this review mid-campaign, we're going to take advantage of that and address some of the things that have come up. I'm the one that goes on Reddit. Allison doesn't go there. She wisely stays away. But I go on Reddit, I go on the board game subreddit, and I have seen some of the questions that have come about this game. So we're going to address that and also just some of the other things on Facebook groups and things like that. We're not going to go deep into the how to play. We'll address some of the things we like about the mechanics and what we don't like as much about the game. We're going to give our full opinion and review, but because we are shooting this mid-campaign, we want specifically to address concerns that the community has had about the game, and hopefully that's helpful to people.
I think we'll start with the one thing that stood out, especially to our boys, was the artwork. Mm-hmm. The board is beautiful. Now, because this game is, you are students going to a wizarding school. It's a 5-year school, and you're kind of working your way through the curriculum of the school those years. It leans heavily into what we know as Hogwarts, and there are little Easter eggs all over this board, and the boys had so much fun pointing those out. It's beautiful. The thing is, it doesn't feel like it's as cohesive, the board, with the artwork of the cards and the beasts.
And that has been one of the critiques of the game also, is like, it does feel a little bit like it's a Harry Potter game that just didn't have the IP. That's something I struggle with, is it does feel like it leans at times a little too close to that line of paying homage to an IP versus just using an IP without using an IP.
I mean, there's Hagrid up here on his motorcycle. We've got the car and the tree over here. Those type of things where it's like, oh, I know that, but it's not part of this story.
And they do on the game, like on the Gamefound page, they list all of their inspiration, where they openly admit that Harry Potter and a few other anime series were the inspiration for this. They don't hide that, and it's very obvious as you're playing through it. Now, one of the big discussions that's come up online is the use of AI artwork. Now, we have not had any discussions with them about that, but we have read what they have put out and what they have put out as they've been designing the game, and they're very open about the fact that they used what they have said is that they used AI for concept art and then passed that to a fairly large team of graphic designers to take that and incorporate that in the game, to paint over the AI stuff and make it more cohesive. Artistically, I feel like there's about 3 different games in here. The characters don't match up with the board, and the companion beasts feel like they're from a different game as well.
The meeples. Now, I think the artwork on those is kind of cohesive with the art of the students. I do want to back up a little bit when you were talking about AI. AI is something that has come up a lot, and it's something that I specifically do have issue with, and I'm working through that. I know I voiced that on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, as well as Blue Sky. And if you'd like to, you can always DM and message us if you want to talk deeper in that and our opinions on that. So I did want to stick that out there.
But it is our understanding on that in this game, they did have a good team of artists that took their AI concepts and ran with those.
Yes.
How much they actually did that, I don't know. They have been, again, very transparent with that process. So you can go, if that's something you're concerned about or want to know more about, you can go watch their designer diaries and things like that and see more about what that process looked like. And as far as the lack of cohesiveness, this is a prototype, so I want to kind of leave it there, because they can always change that. But as is, it feels like it's a few different games.
Just artistically.
Artistically.
Yes.
Mechanically, the game works really well, I think. Mechanically, it's a worker placement game. It also incorporates Prisoner's Dilemma. There is some bidding going on over here, and there's item purchasing, and there's resource management like you typically have with a worker placement game. One of the big critiques that I have seen that I don't agree with, having played it, but can totally understand just looking at it, is that it feels like a messy mishmash of mechanics, because you do have Prisoner's Dilemma and all this, but they actually work really well together, like surprisingly so. The way the Prisoner's Dilemma works, and the way this all works, is it's worker placement. you're playing over 5 years at school. You're going to place your workers here. If you place in the daytime phase, you take that resource immediately. And some of it is your standard worker placement. You put a worker there, you take those 2 rewards, and those rewards are to peak at the these magical events that are going to take place after years 2, 3, and 5. 2, 4, and 5.
Yes, 2, 4, and 5.
Years 2, 4, and 5. And then you can get your resources up here. That's where it lives up to the standard worker placement, where you are going to a space and you are getting a reward for it. So you're going to go there. There's also different things that don't kind of fit into that mold of go to a place, get a reward, go somewhere else, and spend the reward. And that fed into one of our frustrations with the game.
Do you mind if I go back real quick? When you were talking about it being messy, when we were first learning the game, it felt like it was going to be messy. The learning the concept of the how you're doing things and the order of things felt like, okay, well, why would I do that now? Okay, all right, I guess we'll do that now. Like, it did feel messy learning it, playing it out, especially into like year 3 and 4. It was like, oh, this is working. It played a whole lot smoother than I was even expecting learning from the rule book. Now, we had a hard time learning it. It took us a little bit to be like, wait, what's going on here?
But there's a reason for that.
Yes.
And it is kind of a slog to learn because your standard worker placement game is like your base level worker placement game is go to a place that tells you get a resource and then go to a place that tells you to spend a resource. So a lot of those games, you can really jump in if they have good iconography. You can jump in and just say, we're going to teach as we go. But for the most part, like look for where you can get a resource and look for where you can spend a resource and then just figure it out as you go. As you spend things and get things, you'll understand what those things do. This game steps out of that in a big way with all of the different mechanics, with the prisoner's dilemma, with these magical events. And down here in this corner, you can go to these spaces and manipulate the things on the board. And because there's so many different mechanics going on and so many different things that aren't just get resources and spend resources, it's a very hard game to teach as you go. You really have to fully understand how to play the game and at least understand the basics of every single different element of it in order to start playing. Otherwise, you don't know what you're doing because these are hidden. So you don't even have the luxury of, okay, I got this, I see that over there. What is that? Like, how am I going to use this over there? Yeah. Because there's hidden stuff. So
that is typical for your first play of a game like this. We stepped into our second play. The only time we referenced the rule book was looking at the events, and that was secret. So it was like you got to peek at this. They're like, "Hey, can I see the rule book real quick?"
It's kind of, and that's not a bad game. Don't play it. That's and
we're playing games right now that were in the rule book the whole time. So.
We're also playing Elder Scrolls from Chip Theory, which is way harder to learn than this. But it's where I'm going with that is like it's not a light learn. It is a heavier learn than a lot of worker placement games because it steps out of that get a resource, spend a resource, and then do whatever the action says.
Right.
You have to understand how everything works. In a lot of worker placement games, you don't.
Now, I think something that would make it easier is if the iconography was a little bit color-coded when it comes to you spin this, you get this. So say you spin this as color red and you get this as green. They have that here. I'm going to use my little wand here. They have that here in like, if you go here, everyone who goes here gets 6 energy automatically. If you're in these first 2 places, then you get 2 hearts. You get 1 heart there. You lose hearts if you are the last to go to bed that night. Over here, this area on the board was dead to me. Yep. And that's because
sat here.
I sat there.
Relative to the board.
I couldn't really see what was going on. It was very small. I didn't feel like it was worth it to even learn it because I was doing so much over here that seemed to step into the strategy I was going with. So I never used this area over here.
And there is a lot going on the board, and I can understand. I wish things would be a little bit bigger because it can get hard to see, but then it's just kind of I understand from a design perspective, just kind of being sympathetic to the designers and the publisher, like you do get into a place with that where you have to decide, do we want the board to be all icons or do we want it to be artwork with icons mixed in around it? And if you got these spaces to the ideal size for playability and readability, then it's going to make the artwork just it's going to obscure everything. So I get where they went with that.
And the size of the board is the size it needs to be because of the player space that you need. We only have one player space set up. We had 4 before, and it took up our whole table because we moved this up. I had my ear it is a table hog, even though it doesn't look like it is quite as much because we only have one player board set up. Something else that is added to the board is the end of these spell books where that's where you're spending most of your resources is here and then here at the events. You're utilizing all your resources for those. Have we talked about?
We haven't yet.
I like this part because it's where wands come in.
And just to validate the Redditors, yes, it is visually kind of messy. At first glance, it is visually confusing and feels all over the place. What you're doing is you have your turn order, and this was not obvious until I read the rule book and it actually mapped it out, is you're following a path that you resolve everything. So you're starting here in the morning, you are taking this path through the school, up to the tower, and then coming down the path.
No, I saw the arrows and I didn't understand.
And then you're coming down the path to bedtime, and you're going to sleep, and then in the morning you're going to walk across the bridge and do it again.
Or you're not going to bed and you're going to the night party.
Yes.
So
now, I think the player interaction in this is better than your average worker placement game because it goes well beyond. I went to a spot you wanted to go to, and now you can't go.
Well, right. So this player went here. This one went here.
This was an interesting thing.
Yeah, this is for knowledge. So for this one, wherever
Can I say something really quick?
Okay, yeah.
These are resources that you track on your player board. You have strength, you have knowledge, you have energy, and you have, what's the heart? Reputation.
I was going to say hearts.
So you gain energy and reputation. Here mainly you gain a little bit of energy or of reputation there. Mainly you gain energy by going to sleep, and then you gain strength and knowledge there
by spending energy.
But that is one of the very interactive parts of the game.
Now if you do need more energy, you can always utilize one of your familiars, your beasts, to go to another place and get 4 energy. But all that aside. So say this player went here, he wanted to get knowledge, he goes here, he gets some money. He will need to spend the amount of energy based on how many spaces are underneath him.
So let's say red
if he just went there, he's going to end up spending 4, but he gets 4 knowledge, and he gets a money.
But that is a choice.
That is a choice.
So they could say that they just want to get the 1 knowledge.
That's fine.
And they're going to spend 1 energy, but you have
the option.
You can get, for as many empty spaces or below you can get that much energy.
Okay, so wait, you'd only spend 3 there to get 3?
No, you would spend 4.
You would spend 4. Okay.
Right now. But then red goes there.
Yeah, red would probably go here.
But if red went there, red could get 3, and black is now limited to 1. And then if blue goes there, blue can take 2, and black and red are limited to 1.
Right. So if you go there first, you don't really want to go there first. You want to see what other people are doing. I mean, there was a few rounds that I needed strength, and no one went there. And so I was able to go here first, and I spent and was able to get because no one went there. It was what's interesting too.
Hold on. There were also rounds where Allison went there.
Yes.
And Jared went there. So let's say then Allison needed more, so she went there again, and then Jared went there again and blocked her every time because he didn't want her to have the strength.
Yes.
But it was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
It was very strategically thought out.
I was saying for that, but
I'm sorry I interrupted
you. You did. I want to talk about this.
Okay, talk about it.
Because the prisoner's dilemma. Okay, and you get these fun little wands. You don't do that with wands. You cast. And with these, you flip this over at the beginning of each round. So this will happen 5 times, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what goes up here first? You've got the White House, which I can't remember what that house is called. Each of these houses, like other magical wizarding, yes. Each house has a name, and so you're a part. Like this is the blue house. So this one is going to be white, and then this purple one up here. So say that's us. Now, there is you point your wand up, and that's an option. You can point it this way, and then you can point it down.
It's prisoner's dilemma.
It is prisoner's dilemma. So if both of you put your wand up, that's passing, and you get a reward. If one of you points and attacks, they get something if the other person doesn't. If you both attack, no one gets anything. And then,
if you both attack, the observers get something.
That's right. I was never a part of that situation. That's why it didn't stick. The observers get, because they're also wagering on who's going to do what. But then if you both put your wand down, which is, this is passing, this is attacking.
I can't remember.
This is another term.
It's basically recusing yourself.
Yes.
You're not participating.
Yes. Then if you both do that, then you get something. I think if you do that individually, you do something as well. So that's something that starts at the beginning of every round. So I guess that would be just 4, right? Because we're doing it.
No, round 1 through 5.
Round 1 does, okay. I was just kidding. But yeah, so that's a lot of fun to just have that mixed in. It felt very out of place the first few times we did it. But the more we did it, because of prophecies and things like that, where it's like, okay, if you are in one of those, if you're in that event, and you do this signal or whatever, you get to fulfill this prophecy and you get a star.
Now,
there is stars here and there is points. There is not very many points to be gained in this game, which I really like.
Yes, victory points are hard to come by.
I'm going to put this down because I feel like I have too much power.
Victory points are very hard to come by, and other than the random little event or something that gives it to you, you're going to get it. You earn a lot of stars throughout the game. Sometimes when you get a broom or a wand, you get permanent stars that you just have. So you're going to gain a lot of stars. And then at the end of round 2, 4, and 5, you're going to score your stars. Whoever has the most gets 3 victory points. Second most gets 2. Third most gets 3. Again, and you gain victory points down here. And the victory point track maxes out at 18.
You can get. I think we ended up getting more.
No, not at this. We got
more stars.
Got more stars because Peyton was really efficient with that.
He was.
But victory points are hard to come by, and again, I like that. Like it may be that you're. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. They're hard to come by. But
the stars do reset each time, each event.
They do.
They do reset, and so it's like if you have a prophecy that
they
it's
reset
like 18,
at each scoring round.
Yes, if you have a prophecy that says 18 stars and you fulfill this prophecy, and it's like you've got 17 and you just missed it, you got to go all the way back down to whatever stars you have permanently, which is with your character, with your wands and brooms.
Now, a couple things that kind of stepped out of that mold again to where you can actually manipulate the board with this space down here that Jared did a lot. Is you can go to this space and you can swap who's going to fight in the prisoner's dilemma thing in the wand.
Peyton's so mad.
And he kept doing that because there's valuable stuff to be gained there. You can also swap out the teacher. There's different teachers at the school that like and dislike certain houses. So anytime you would take a darkness card, if you're in the preferred house for that teacher that's on duty, then you wouldn't take any. And if you are in the house that they don't like, then you're going to take an extra darkness card, and you lose points if you have the most darkness cards at the end of the game.
You do. There's all little things in here that we're not going into. Even when it comes to like spells, you have to have a special wand and able to do the dark spells and things like that. There's different. And the animals allow you to do different things as well. You get to, when they exhaust, you can do things so they don't exhaust. You can go to the zoo to get another animal. There's things that we haven't even touched on. I will say we have some issues with the prototype and with the gameplay. But overall, our second game, I was excited to play it. Like,
it played very well.
It did.
And the stuff that didn't, that feels random in the first game actually felt really cohesive in the second game. Real quick, the wands and the brooms are things that you can buy. You can have 2 of each. There's 2 different levels. The second level is unlocked on year 3. So you can have up to 2, but if you miss the first level and you get to year 3 and you don't have one, then you can only get the second one. And those just give you a lot of permanent benefits, things you can do. This one allows you to learn dark spells. These give you permanent stars. So as you're gaining stars throughout the game, when it gets time to tally those, if you have this broom, you just automatically have 3 stars.
Right.
There's abilities based on the house that you join. These are where you spend a lot of your resources. Within that, it is a typical worker placement game and just resource management game.
Yeah.
Couple of things, again, going into the player interaction, you can go anywhere you want. You can do whatever you want to do, but you have to go to bed. So going
We
here,
had a few situations where I was like, oh crap, I didn't go to bed.
if you actually go to bed and go to the dorm, you're going to get 6 energy. You're going to get some hearts. If you choose to sneak out and go over to the midnight carnival, you're going to get less energy. You're going to get to draw a mischief card, which just these have random
like
abilities.
this one.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is one of, I had this one. This one's worth a whole point at the end of the game.
Yeah, but there are mischief cards that let you steal other mischief cards. The mischief cards, we didn't really
mischievous.
use a lot the first game until we got towards the end and started realizing what they did. I really like the mischief cards because they do throw a wrench in things.
They do.
Because you keep them secret. So you may have, like someone may steal it, and I'm just hoping they take the one that's like, get 2 stars versus get a victory point, because victory points are hard to come by. If you go to the Midnight Carnival, you're going to get less stuff, but you are potentially going to mess with other players. So there's a carnival. So go to the carnival here. Those who are not at the carnival, the responsible kids that went to bed when they were told and followed the rules, have to draw 2 darkness cards, but in exchange, the people who did go to the carnival are going to lose stars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in there where you kind of balance and take chances to maybe hurt yourself a little bit, but potentially put other players in a bad spot. Over here, you can swap out the teacher that's on duty and potentially get a more friendly or favorable teacher towards you, and hopefully less favorable towards the other players.
There's some really fun strategy manipulation in it. I will say, for worker placement, I liked that manipulation that you're allowed to do overall on the board, not just with your own player board.
So the last thing I want to talk about, and this was the part that was probably also one of those things that feels like it just doesn't fit, but it was probably one of my favorite elements of the game, just because it was so novel for this type of game. So it's also one of those things that makes it a lot harder to teach, because these are secret, not harder, longer to teach, because these are secret and hidden information. So you need to understand what all of the possibilities are going to be for these magical events, so that you don't have to ask, or you don't. You can always ask to read the rule book and look it up.
We passed the rule book around. Which is
so the way these work is these events. Don't know off the top of my head what that one does. So we'll do this one. So this one, the magical conflict, we've only played it with 4 players. I know there's modifications for 3 players, but with 4 players, the person in the lead, I'm not going to look it up. There's a rule for who gets to pick who's dueling who, but this is a duel. This magical conflict is a duel. All of these are going to require you to bid energy. So with the magical duel, let's say I'm the person who gets to pick, and I say I'm going to duel Peyton. That means Jared and Allison are going to duel. We're going to each do our duels at the same time. We're going to choose how much of our energy we want to bid. Ideally, you've maxed out your energy, but you may not. But you're going to choose how much energy you want to bid secretly, and all 4 players at the same time are going to reveal it. Say, okay, so I bid 10 energy. You are then going to add your energy with your knowledge. You're going to add your energy to your knowledge. So let's say I had gotten 3 knowledge. Okay. So I bid 10 energy plus my 3 knowledge. Plus your wand stars, which you don't have anymore. Plus my stars from wands. Yeah. So let's say I had this wand right here. So that's 2. My total score is 10 plus 3, that's 13, 14, 15. So this is just permanent stars from wands. So mine is 15, and Peyton, let's say, is 13. So I won that, and let's say Allison won against Jared. Now I have spent 10 of my energy.
And I was relatively conservative because I looked at them and say Jared didn't even have wands yet or knowledge. He was going for something different. So I was like, well, I mean, I may have 10 energy, but I can spend 4 and still outbeat him. So I only spent 4 energy. So I'm left with 6 energy. He only has 2 over here. Yeah. So I'm probably going to win. So
you might, but I may have a lot of knowledge and wands. Maybe.
Well, and I'm looking at that. Yes. It's not secret.
It is very,
But it is, you are spending them. So there's also that like strategy of like, how do I want to step in the next round with no energy and never start? Or is that benefit worth it to me?
Yeah. And here's what you get.
There's a little bit of that too.
Yeah. So after that first battle, the 2 winners go head to head to determine first and second place, and the 2 losers go head to head to determine third and fourth place. And this is what you get. So honestly, in mine, all I cared about was making it to
the
second round to
Makes
either be
sense.
first or second place, because at least I got a victory point in all of these. But I really liked that because it just added something different. It added a way to, it brought in the bidding, it brought in the blind bidding, it brought in a really unique way to use your resources. And also with going over here, now with 4 players, there's only 3 places to spy on these.
Right.
Which made it like...
I got 2, both games.
Yeah.
I didn't, one event I couldn't even look at because everyone else
Yeah,
had
if
spied
you get
first.
blocked out of
They
those,
came
that
over
is a...
here to look first.
Yeah, if you get blocked out of those, that is a huge disadvantage.
So that's when you're watching them. Oh, everyone's going for knowledge. I bet it
Probably
has
need to go to
something to do with
knowledge,
knowledge.
But I really, this was the most frustrating part to learn, because there's like 10 different events and you need to know kind of what they all do.
But there's only 3 each game.
Yes.
You're only going to have 3.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's in that you don't know what those 3 are.
That's
so
true.
you need
Okay,
to be, that's what I'm saying with just it's a slog to teach, because you need to be familiar with all of it in order to play it. It is, again, I've said it like 5 times, it's not a good teach as you go game.
Yeah.
But I really, really like this. I think it worked really well. Again, every one of those mechanics that people online were saying, and that I myself, in looking through it, was saying, is like, okay, well, we do that, but like, what's this? And what, like, all of those things that were like, all turned out to be really fun elements of the game. The Prisoner's Dilemma, I've seen a lot of them getting a lot of flack for that because it seems out of place, but it works. It works really well.
It did. I liked it.
And it adds in the wand dueling. Like, they're really excited about the wands.
I didn't know.
They're a little too excited about the wands, but it was fun. It added just something different. Each of those none of them hog the game.
I will say, as a prototype, I love a chunky meeple and a chunky, like, these are like...
A little too thick.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I like it thick. This is like...
It's too thick.
Too thick.
It's also just when you're trying to
Massive.
stack those next to your player area, they take up too much space.
Yes.
So yeah, we've rambled a lot, but I think we've touched on a lot of different things. All in all, I thoroughly enjoyed the game.
I did.
I thoroughly didn't enjoy learning the game, but that's okay. Not every game is fun to learn. It was worth it, though. It was worth it to learn. Really enjoyed the gameplay. Was excited to come back and play it again. I'm excited to go and play it again now that we fully understand it. It's just, don't expect it to be a game that you're going to pick up and just kind of flip through the rule book and learn as you go. It's a heavy learn, but once you've learned it, it's not too heavy of a game.
Yeah.
But it's heavier than your average worker placement game to learn, just because you have to know how everything works before you start playing. And if only one person knows how everything works, it's going to be real frustrating for everyone else at the table, because they're not going to know what they're doing for all of the reasons we've already said. So, any last thoughts?
I don't think so. I think we've touched on pretty much everything and then some.
Yep.
Again, there's a lot of how to plays and teaches out there for the game. So if you have questions, we'll link some below where you can check those out. It is currently in the campaign right now, so do check out the campaign page. We will leave that as well below. If you have any questions for us, you can leave those below, and we will get the designers in to answer those that we can't.
Yep. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.